So you're against diluting voting power?
I'm against gerrymandering.
Okay, so do you support then illegal immigrants being allowed to vote in elections?
Illegal immigrants don't vote in federal elections.
Well, illegal immigrants are who Democrats want to vote in federal elections.
But that doesn't make it. It doesn't matter if they want. It doesn't matter what anybody wants.
If you are against diluting political power for anybody, you should not want illegal immigrants to vote in American elections, because we can't dilute the political power of American citizens.
But this isn't a discussion about that. And illegal immigrants are not allowed to vote in federal elections.
In today's video, Brian Tyler Cohen goes head-to-head with Caroline Sunshine on CNN's The Story Is, as the debate quickly turns heated over gerrymandering, voting rights, and political double standards. Caroline Sunshine tries hard to defend Republican redistricting moves, but Brian Tyler Cohen pushes back with sharp facts and strong arguments during the intense live exchange. As the tension keeps building and the conversation spirals into chaos on CNN, Brian Tyler Cohen completely puts Caroline Sunshine on the spot in a moment that has everyone talking.
If you are a Democrat in New Jersey, New York, Maryland, Illinois, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, this is the time to start fighting back and recognize the urgency of this moment right here. Because Republicans don't believe that Democrats have a right to exist as a party. And so if we don't start fighting back, and if we don't stop unilaterally disarming, we're basically going to good government ourselves into obscurity.
Caroline, what do you think of this? Is it Jim Crow 2.0?
Well, so you're opposed to this because you think that this dilutes people's political power unfairly? Is that why you're opposed to this?
I think that it dilutes the ability of people in certain jurisdictions to be able to vote for their representatives. Nashville has been cracked into multiple districts. Memphis has been cracked in multiple districts. And so there's no way that those people who live in those jurisdictions can vote for their representatives, because the Republicans have purposefully gerrymandered those states to dilute their voting power.
So you're against diluting voting power?
I'm against gerrymandering.
Okay, so do you support then illegal immigrants being allowed to vote in elections?
Illegal immigrants don't vote in federal elections.
Well, illegal immigrants are who Democrats want to vote in federal elections.
But that doesn't make it. It doesn't matter if they want. It doesn't matter what anybody wants.
If you are against diluting political power for anybody, you should not want illegal immigrants to vote in American elections, because we can't dilute the political power of American citizens.
But this isn't a discussion about that. And illegal immigrants are not allowed to vote in federal elections. What about this move of what the Supreme Court did and what Republicans are doing right now when it comes to redistricting? A lot of this started with President Trump telling Texas to get him more congressional districts.
Well, I think checks and balances played out here. I mean, the Virginia Supreme Court said this can't happen in 2026, but it could happen in 2028. So I'm not sure what the big deal is here. This went through the democratic process, and the Supreme Court, the judge struck it down, saying the language in the referendum was flagrantly misleading. And he's not saying it can't happen. He's just saying it can't happen in 2026 because it's unconstitutional. And he's correct, because that is a flagrant power play by Democrats to try to reshape the midterms in 2026.
So if you think
now,
that's a power play, was it a power play when Donald Trump demanded the same thing in Texas, said that he was entitled to 5 seats in Texas? Was that a power play?
Texas isn't Virginia. The states are sovereign, and according to the Constitution, the 10th Amendment says federalism. Each state has the right to conduct it differently.
I'm asking you if it was a power play.
How it played out in Texas, because Texas isn't Virginia.
I understand that Texas is not Virginia, but I want to know if you think if it was a power play.
Where does this go? Because you want to talk about power plays. I would love to know. Hassan Piker on your side of the aisle said today that as a result of this ruling, if a peaceful revolution is not possible, then violent revolution is inevitable. So do you agree with Hassan Piker?
I'm not Hassan Piker. Hassan Piker can...
Do you agree with that?
Hassan Piker can speak for himself.
What does he mean by that?
I don't know. You can ask him. I'm not Hassan Piker. I'm Brian.
But do you agree with that? Do you condemn that?
Call Hassan Piker and ask.
Where do you want to see this go?
What I'm here I don't care what Hassan Piker says. I'm not Hassan Piker.
More Americans are becoming frustrated with the way aggressive partisan redistricting has reshaped the political map over the last several years. A number of studies have found that heavily gerrymandered districts hurt competition, reduce voter participation, and allow politicians to choose the voters they want, instead of voters choosing the leaders they trust to represent them. That is one of the main reasons why redistricting battles have become so heated across the country. Many people now feel like the system is being built more around political power than fair representation, and that growing frustration is slowly damaging public trust. One major problem in these debates is how quickly attention gets pulled away from the real issue. Instead of seriously addressing concerns about manipulated district lines and weakened voting influence, political conversations often turn into emotional culture war arguments that distract from the original point completely. That may help fire up loyal party supporters, but it does very little to ease the growing concern many Americans have about whether elections are still fair and truly competitive. There is also a deeper fear surrounding the long-term health of democracy itself. When voters start believing their voices carry less value because district maps are carefully designed to protect one political party, trust in institutions begins fading away. Experts from both political sides have warned for years that extreme gerrymandering increases political division because candidates in safe districts are rewarded for appealing only to their strongest supporters, instead of trying to win over moderate voters. At the end of the day, the real issue goes far beyond which party benefits in a single election. The bigger question is whether Americans will continue believing that elections are fair, competitive, and accountable. Because once confidence in that process starts disappearing, political division only becomes more serious and far more difficult to repair in the future.
Brian's pushing for a violent revolution.
Yeah,
Are you or no? Just to be clear, because where does this go now that the Supreme Court in Virginia has ruled
Here's
this
where
is
it goes.
not
It goes to me calling on every Democratic elected official, either in the legislature or the governor's office, in Democratic states across the country, and demanding that they redraw maps to fight fire with fire and actually counteract what Republicans have done in a raft of different states across the country and what they continue to do in southern states across the country in response to the Voting Rights Act being gutted.
Do you think that there should be a national ban on gerrymandering to try to stop this whole thing around the country?
I'm not opposed to it, but I also believe that the Constitution says, the 10th Amendment, what is not outlined here is left to the states. And I think states have a right to decide their own process. And that's what I'm arguing with you is the process played out here in Virginia. It was put on the ballot on a referendum directly with the voters. It barely passed. The language was extremely misleading. There was an appeal. It then went to the state Supreme Court. What's the problem here? Checks and balances played out.
And you support a national ban?
100%. And in fact, when the Democrats put that forward, a national ban on gerrymandering in 2021, the Freedom to Vote Act, every single Democrat voted for it. Every single Republican voted against it.
Do you think the United States Supreme Court, which has supported Texas's right to do this and has supported California's right to do this, will support Virginia's right to do redistricting? You think they might overturn this?
No. I think that this Supreme Court has proven itself to be an arm of the Republican Party, if nothing else. And we have seen numerous instances where, whether it's this U.S. Supreme Court, where you had a bunch of justices beat their chest about the importance of precedent and the Voting Rights Act, which is, that precedent has been reaffirmed over and over and over again for the past 60 years, just like Roe was precedent that was reaffirmed over and over again. The Supreme Court stands for its own adherence to the Republican Party.
You think the Supreme Court might step in?
I don't think they're going to hear this. I don't see why they would. Again, the people of Virginia spoke. And what's interesting is when this referendum was put on the ballot, let's be very clear, it disenfranchised the rights and the voices, if we're talking about who got disenfranchised with a referendum, of rural Virginians. Yeah. This referendum transferred power from majority of the state, which is rural Virginians, and consolidated it among the swamp, which is people who work in D.C. and live in Virginia. But I didn't hear you speaking up then.
And I, by the way, I would concede that when you have a gerrymandered map, certain people are disenfranchised, which is why this whole thing was sparked off after Republicans first went after Texas. I didn't agree with it when it happened in Texas, but what I don't want to see is unilateral disarmament. I think gerrymandering is a scourge all around. But if you really care about disenfranchisement, then you'll care about it when it happens right off the bat. You'll care about it when it happens in Texas. You'll care about it when all of a sudden Memphis is cracked into multiple districts, Nashville is cracked into multiple districts, and those people have no voting power because that's 100% Republican.
And that
now.
is true in California now, that Republicans are being disenfranchised by Prop 50.
But the difference
is the districts are not. It's not fair to Republican voters, and the idea of like a 52-0 map here is not fair. Just like it's not fair what we're seeing in Tennessee and other places where there's going to be no Democratic representation. That's bad for democracy.
Correct. It's terrible for democracy.
Right.
The difference is there's only one party that actually supports a nationwide ban on gerrymandering, and that's the Democrats.
Violent revolution, to be clear, is also bad for democracy.
And
I
neither
agree.
Brian nor myself are endorsing violent revolution, just to be clear. Always against political violence. I've said that repeatedly. Quickly.
The biggest issue with gerrymandering is that it gives politicians the power to protect themselves from voters, instead of letting voters hold politicians accountable. Over the past 2 decades, both political parties have relied on aggressive redistricting tactics, but voting rights groups and political experts have repeatedly warned that extreme district maps weaken competition and make elections far less representative. When districts are designed to strongly favor one side, candidates no longer have much reason to connect with moderate or independent voters, and that only pushes politics deeper into division and constant gridlock. What makes this even more frustrating for many Americans is the clear double standard that often comes with it. Politicians are quick to attack gerrymandering when the other party benefits from it, but suddenly stay silent when their own side gains power using the exact same strategy. That kind of hypocrisy is one of the biggest reasons public trust in government institutions keeps falling. Several national polls have shown that confidence in Congress and the election system has dropped sharply because more voters now believe the system is being manipulated long before anyone even casts a ballot. There is also a serious concern about the future of democracy itself. Competitive districts force candidates to defend their ideas, compromise with different groups, and earn support from a broader range of voters, while safe districts created through aggressive redistricting often reward extreme partisan behavior and remove real accountability. That is why many election experts continue pushing for independent redistricting commissions, instead of allowing politicians to draw their own district maps behind closed doors. At the end of the day, most Americans probably aren't focused on which party wins every single district. What matters to them is whether elections actually feel fair, balanced, and truly competitive, instead of carefully engineered for political advantage.
Here in Los Angeles, there's a very interesting race happening right now for mayor. Karen Bass, the incumbent, who has been embattled and does not have very high approval ratings right now, is being challenged by Spencer Pratt, a reality star known for The Hills, who's a Republican, who gets a lot of attention on social media, had a debate this week, got a lot of attention for it. What do you make of what Spencer is doing right now? He's running ads that he's getting a lot of attention for. Certainly a lot of Republicans around the country who don't live in Los Angeles and can't vote for him are endorsing him. What do you think of his chances to actually win in a deeply blue city?
I think Spencer Pratt could be the next mayor of Los Angeles, and I'll tell you why. The last time a reality television star who was politically incorrect ran for office, he ended up all the way at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And Spencer Pratt is reminding me of the saying, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. He has all the makings. I don't even have to use the Donald Trump example. He has the charisma of Mamdani, AOC, Trump. He has that outsider, anti-establishment energy, and he is good at harnessing attention. He is running, tactically speaking, a very nimble, agile, smart campaign. I can tell that campaign is not being governed by committee. My guess is it's a very small team of 5 to 6 people who, just like Trump in 2016, are able to move a lot faster than bloated political consultant type campaigns. And Spencer, people are saying they don't like his politically correct, comments. So in the debate the other night, people said he was offensive maybe when he was suggesting that Nithya Raman go ask people who are homeless under the freeway for treatment. They were going to get stabbed in the neck, and people were really offended by that. Well, guess what? In Venice, California today, we had a man get his arm sliced off with a samurai sword. So Spencer Pratt, it looks like, is way more in touch with reality than the rest of the candidates on that stage.
Quickly, Brian, thoughts on Spencer?
What could possibly go wrong with a longtime reality star who speaks bluntly, knows how to game the media, and decides that he wants to be a politician? Look, I think that would
What
actually...
do you have to lose, Brian?
I think that
Look
that
at
would
this
actually
city.
carry...
What do
I
you
think
have
that
to
would actually
lose?
carry more weight if Donald Trump's approval rating wasn't what it is right now, and if he wasn't, basically exposed as a con artist for promising to be this populist champion, and instead, prices are higher for everybody, healthcare's cut, food assistance has been cut, and we're spending God knows how many billions of dollars per day on a war in the Middle East that he promised would never happen.
Well, in the next few weeks, we will be talking to all the leading candidates for LA mayor, including Spencer Pratt, here on The Story Is. But for now, thanks to Caroline and Brian, we could keep going all night, but at some point we got to stop. Thank you, guys.
A lot of voters are clearly frustrated with traditional politicians, and that is one of the biggest reasons outsider candidates and celebrity personalities keep gaining attention in today's political climate. But being entertaining, controversial, or good at creating viral headlines does not automatically mean someone can successfully lead a major city. Running a place as large and complicated as Los Angeles takes real experience handling housing issues, transportation systems, public safety, homelessness, emergency services, and multi-billion-dollar budgets. Viral clips, social media popularity, and debate moments cannot replace actual governing experience. One of the biggest lessons from the past decade is that charisma by itself cannot fix deep structural problems. Populist campaigns often become successful because they tap into public frustration, anger, and distrust of the political system. But once those candidates take office, voters still expect real solutions and measurable results. Across the country, many Americans are still struggling with rising living costs, expensive health care, housing shortages, and failing infrastructure. Problems that continue no matter how famous or media-savvy a politician may be. There is also a growing trend in modern politics where candidates who dominate headlines and social media attention are rewarded more than candidates focused on realistic policy solutions. Outrage and controversy spread online much faster than serious conversations about city planning, economic growth, or long-term development. While that may help campaigns build momentum quickly, it can also create governments that care more about public performance and culture war battles than solving long-term problems that affect everyday people. At the same time, concerns about crime, homelessness, and affordability in cities like Los Angeles are completely real for many voters. People want leaders who openly recognize those problems while offering practical plans supported by evidence, experience, and realistic goals.
Emotional slogans and anti-establishment messaging may excite supporters during campaigns, but fixing major urban problems requires much more than simply attracting attention and winning online debates.